Well, welcome back to Music Theory 101, the basic elements of music. So, in the last video, we talked a little bit about these things, these sharps, flats, naturals, these accidentals. In this video, I wanted to go back and kind of explain this concept of steps. So, if you remember all the way back in video 1, wherever it is, right here, our man here, little guy, that always gives me trouble, was walking up these stair steps. In the last video, I was saying how each of these is a whole step with a half step right in between them. But I kind of realized halfway through that that's not exactly entirely true. See, if you come down here to this keyboard, any note that has a note in between it, so either a black key or a white key, is called a whole step. So if this one here has a black key in between it, well, there you go. That's a whole step. Now, if there's two notes that are next to each other without a black key in between, they're called half steps. Likewise, here, this B flat or A sharp, as we learned, to this B is a half step. So technically, the steps that I was talking about, they are steps up a staircase, but some of them are half steps, which we indicated as such. Let me pull up my keyboard here. So, if I was to play from E to F, it's a half step. But if I was to play from E, skip the white note in the middle to this F sharp or G flat, I would call it a whole step. And our basic scales are created with these motions of whole steps and half steps. So for example, if I was to take the B flat scale, starting here on B flat, and let me create a text box actually real quick to kind of explain this, because this is going to be the basics of scales. Get this out of here. So if I was to take B flat, and I'm trying to do the scale, I go B flat, C, D, E flat, I'd go F, G, A, B flat. Now, I'm going to show you how you can figure out a scale without even knowing what a key signature is by just this simple pattern of whole steps and half steps. So, if I start here on B flat and go up to C, that is a whole step. So, you have a whole step. Then, if I was to go from C to D, that's another whole step. But here's where it gets interesting. Next is an E flat, which is D to E flat. So that is a half step. And so on and so forth. E flat to F, whole step. F to G, whole step. G to A, whole step. And then A right here to B flat, a half step. And this pattern is the same for every major scale. So, in basic, in Western music theory, you have this idea of each of these notes can start a scale. So you have a C scale, you have a D flat, a C sharp, a D, whatever scale. And the only thing that you need to do in order to figure out what notes are in that scale, if you don't know your key signatures, well, the first step is don't know your key signatures, but that will be a different video. But for now, to understand this basic concept of how these notes relate to each other, you start here on C, if you want to do a C scale, and go whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So, C to D, whole step. We need another whole step, D to E. Then we need a half step. Then we need a whole step, F to G. We need another whole step, G to A. Another whole step. And finally, our half step. And so just by doing that pattern, we've now created a C major scale. And this can be repeated on any scale. Say you take A flat. Well, A flat's right here. Those are two whole steps. But then you need your half step. Well, I mean, There's your first one. There's your second whole step. And now you need your half step into D flat. Up a whole step, E flat. Up a whole step to F. Up a whole step to G. And then up a half step to A flat. And this can be repeated on anything. Take even the hardest key of, say, a G sharp, which isn't even something you'd ever see in music. You start here on G sharp. You go up a whole step to A sharp. You go up a whole step to B sharp, which is C, but in harmonic, say that this is a B sharp. You can go up a half step into C sharp. You can go up a whole step into D sharp, up a whole step into E sharp, which looks like an F, but in harmonics show us it is an E sharp, and then you go up your last whole step into G here, which is really F double sharp, which will be explained in a later video. Do not panic. I know there's double sharps, there's also double flats. But this whole step relationship takes you from E sharp, looks like an F, but it in harmonic is E sharp, past the next note has to be a form of F. F sharp's a half step, so we got to go up another to an F double sharp. Finally, a half step up into G sharp. And there you've taken one of the hardest scales that incorporate double sharps, and using the simple pattern here of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, you've created a scale. And that's all for this video. Just wanted to give a little bit of an update. There's not even a lot here to look at. It's just this idea of when there's a note in between, any form of key, black or white, it's a whole step. If there's nothing separating the two, it will be a half step. So half step, whole step, whole step. See that? So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or just let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.